Welcome to Open Book with Susan Baier, the show where we get to know our local leaders and learn more about the people behind the titles. I'm your host, Susan Baier, the Executive Director of the Allen County Public Library. We're here in Studio B in Access Fort Wayne in our main library in beautiful downtown Fort Wayne. I'm so excited to get to know our guest today. Please help me welcome the Executive Director of Safety and Community Partnerships of Fort Wayne Community Schools, Matt Schiebel. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Susan. Nice to be here today.
Thank you so much for being here today. I've got a lot of questions for you. The first question is, you've got a really big title. It sounds like a very big job.
It is a very big job. It's actually two very big jobs.
Can you tell me what that encompasses?
Sure. So part of my job is overseeing safety and security for the district. And as you can imagine, that's a rather detailed operation, but one that I really enjoy. And the other one is over community partnerships. And so that's partnering with our businesses, our nonprofits, our government agencies. And also underneath that, we work with our people that supervise volunteers, that recruit mentors, and that also are involved in family and community engagement.
There's so much pride in this community around Fort Wayne Community Schools. What makes the school district so unique and special?
It's interesting that you talk about pride when you talk about Fort Wayne Community Schools, because one of the things we know that Fort Wayne Community Schools has been around for more than 100 years, and so part of that pride becomes generational. So for my family, for example, my kids are third generation FWCS. My father went to Southside in the 1950s. My wife and I went to Snyder in the 1980s, and my son and daughter graduated from Snyder as well in 17 and 19. So I think that's one of the things that brings a lot of pride to Fort Wayne Community Schools. But I also think it's unique because it's the largest district in Indiana. And also I think it brings a wealth of experience working with businesses. One of our focuses is really to make sure that our students get work-based learning opportunities. I'm sure we'll talk about that eventually. And also, I think it's important to note, because we are the biggest district, we're also one of the most diverse districts in Indiana. So we have students that speak over 70 different languages
70.
And dialects.
That is
yes,
amazing.
it's incredible. So I always think Fort Wayne Community Schools is just a slice of the world.
I have noticed that in your schools you have various portraits on display. A portrait of an explorer, a portrait of a connector, and a portrait of a graduate. And I wondered if you might explain what those mean.
Yeah, we do. They have a lot of words, so I'm going to take my cheat sheet here so I can get that. But really what the portraits explain to people are just the outcomes that we hope for our students to have. So our elementary students are explorers, so we have a portrait of an explorer. And even though the wording for each different poster is the same, with the exception of the title, because explorers are elementary students, connectors are middle school students, and graduates are obviously our high school students. What those posters define is the different outcomes that we hope our students can achieve. So we want our students to be prepared, developed, connected, and experienced. And so we detail for people in those posters the kind of academic outcomes we want for them, the kind of well-being and behavioral outcomes that we want for our students, as well as their career readiness and their exposure to careers. So it's nice to make sure that those are displayed in all of our schools, because it serves as a visual reminder not only for our staff, but also for our students and their parents who visit.
Other phrases that I have seen in reference to your schools is a school of success, and I wondered what that meant.
Yeah, so Schools of Success is something we've been working on for about the past 4 years. In other communities like Louisville or Nashville, they're often called academies. So in Fort Wayne Community Schools, we call them Schools of Success. And they really are, at the high school, kind of a school within a school. And so what we have done prior to developing these Schools of Success is we went to Greater Fort Wayne to say, what are the career clusters that are important in Northeast Indiana? And so we ended up with 3 Schools of Success for our high school. So one is Business and the Arts, One is manufacturing, engineering, trades, and technology. And the third one is health sciences and human services. So we know in Northeast Indiana that our students have the greatest chance of employment if they choose one of those three career clusters. And so what we do then as the students become sophomores, we ask them to actually choose one of those career clusters, and their elective classes fall into those categories, which are also known as pathways. But we also expect our math, our language arts, our science and social studies teachers in those distinct schools of success to also be able to connect their curriculum. So if I'm a language arts teacher, I want to connect my language arts. If I'm in the School of Success of Business and the Arts, I want to make sure that as I teach language arts, that I also connect my instruction from time to time to business and the arts.
So let's talk a bit about the safety side of your job. In November of 2023, residents passed a safety referendum for the school district with more than 53% of the vote in favor. So what has happened since then?
A lot has happened since then. We were very thankful that the voters afforded us the opportunity to do as many things as we've been able to do. So we looked at that referendum from two standpoints. We looked at it from a safety and security standpoint, but we also looked at it from a well-being standpoint, because when we think of most safety and security issues, they oftentimes are bound in issues that deal with well-being and mental health. So we did, at the baseline, purchase technology. So we have weapon detectors in all of our schools. We've created secure vestibules for people to enter. We've really ramped up the use of cameras and radios that are detailed. We purchased security supervisor vehicles. We made sure that we had security glass on the entrances to our schools. So we did a lot of things from that perspective. But our most important investment was really with people. So we added student advocates at all high schools, middle schools, and elementary, 2 in every high school, 1 in middle school and 1 in elementary. And those individuals really spend all of their day making sure that the building is safe and secure, but also attending to the well-being of students and sometimes even staff. In addition, we made sure that we had therapeutic counselors in all of our high schools, because we had them in elementary, so we added them to high schools, made sure we had them in middle schools, because again, mental well-being is important. We also have worked with the city of Fort Wayne to increase the number of school resource officers, so we're hoping at some point to end up with 12 additional. We have 2 so far, and we understand that it may take a while to get all 12, but we've worked with that as well. And then we contracted with Alive Community Outreach to scale the Peacemaker Academy, which started at Southside, scale that to all 5 of our high schools.
Tell me more about the Peacemaker Academy and what that is.
Yeah, the Peacemaker Academy is really a very unique program in Fort Wayne Community Schools. Many people have said it really should be a national model. So the Peacemaker label, for example, is really based upon Dr. King's 6 principles of nonviolence. And so in each school, we have an adult who's a peace advocate. But the biggest and best part of the Peacemaker program is that it's really student-driven. It gives students ownership of creating an environment, a climate and culture that's peaceful, where students help their peers understand how they can resolve conflict without resorting to violence. And so we are really thankful for that. And every summer, about 12 students from each high school attend a 3-week academy with the Peacemakers to get trained. So to date, I think we have over 150 Peacemaker students, and we continue to add 12 from each school every year.
You mentioned many of the measures you've put into place since the referendum passed, some technology, some people, and the outcomes have been that you've seen a decrease in the amount of weapons brought into your schools.
Yeah, we have. I mean, the reason for the referendum to begin with was that the community was upset by the number of handguns 3 or 4 years ago, and so we have drastically reduced the number of handguns. We've reduced the number of knives that are coming in, and overall, with also the well-being piece, we've seen like overall disciplinary events decrease from one year to the next. So I would say overall, tentatively, that the results are good, and we have other school districts calling and wanting to tour our buildings to see the technology that we're using and to learn more about student advocates and peacemakers. So I think we're moving in the right direction. I would say we're probably ahead of the curve.
With all the phenomenal partners Fort Wayne Community School has, I would say the most important partner in a child's education is at home, the parents and the guardians. What are the most important things parents and guardians can do to support their students?
That's a great question, and you're right. Parents are students' first teachers. So several things that I always recommend. I think the first thing is maintaining an open dialogue between the house and the school. One of the things I used to tell people when I was a principal is don't wait until 3 or 4 things have happened that you're upset about. Call your school immediately so that small problems don't become big problems. I think parents need to have an awareness of how their students are doing academically in school. All of our parents can really check student grades through a platform that's electronic. So I always urge parents to check that on a regular basis. Once a week is usually enough. Teachers need time to put things in grade books, so I recommend the parents know academically where their students are. I think they should have a dialogue at home each night, and not the dialogue that most parents do, which is, how was your day?
Fine.
Yes, when you ask a student how their day was, 2 answers, right? It was either okay, fine, or boring, right? 3 answers. So one of the things that we should rephrase that as is, what did you learn today? And you can even be more specific. What did you learn in math today? In any subject such as that. So really engaging your student in a dialogue. And I think finally, part of the struggle that we have with a lot of teenagers is just the overexposure to electronics, to social media. So I think at some point we'll never shield kids completely from social media and electronics, but I think there's a great importance of making sure that that's limited, and particularly in the evening hours. I mean, at some point, I'm old school, but I think kids should turn in their cell phones at 9 or 10 o'clock to their parents and not have them in their rooms at night.
They go in phone jail at night.
Yes, I see nothing wrong with that. And then finally, I think is just really having an awareness of where your child is when they're not with you. Who are they hanging around with? But more importantly, where are they? I like to tell people that I have a 25 and a 27-year-old, and I still track their whereabouts on my phone. So I think parents need to know where their kids are. So I just think we need to be as attentive to our students as we can be.
Matt, you wear many hats in the community. And one of those hats is you're on the advisory council of the Boys and Girls Club of Fort Wayne. And I wondered if you might share how the school district works with the Boys and Girls Club to support students.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Joe Jordan is one of our heroes of Fort Wayne. So partially I serve on the Boys and Girls Club just because I think Joe's an amazing human being, has done so many good things for the entire city of Fort Wayne. So we partner in a couple different ways. Probably the most recent and impactful partnership is the Jim Kelly Career Pathway Center that's owned by the Boys and Girls Club, but it's an active partnership with Fort Wayne Community Schools. So they help oversee that program, but our middle school students get to attend in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade the Career Pathway Center, and they have those experiences that we know that they're going to get in high school, but we also want them to have those experiences when they're in middle school as well. So that's been an impactful way. We know that approximately 600 of our students every single day attend the Boys and Girls Club after school. So we rely on them as a safe place for our students until parents get off work. We've arranged transportation so that we actually have some instances where we can drop students off at Boys and Girls Club, and so that's been really impactful. Where we've had time to be able to pay for tutors, we've actually had tutors that have been located in Boys and Girls Club to help students that need help after school. So it's been a long partnership with Boys and Girls Club, and I know that's going to be something that we're going to continue to do.
Matt, what do you hope all graduates remember about their time at FWCS?
I really hope that they remember specific teachers, and hopefully a bunch of them, that they felt really genuinely cared about them, as human beings. I mean, I think we've come through that era where test scores were so important, and I thought for many years we were doing a disservice to our students because we were really worried about test scores more than just their general well-being. I think the pendulum has shifted back because now we know that if you want to have decent test scores, you have to make sure that somebody feels good about themselves and have confidence and want to progress forward. So I'm really hoping that each student has a champion in their building as they move from one level to the next, and that they remember that champion. You know, my oldest former students are now in their early 50s, and I still run into them in the community, and it's almost like nothing has changed in that relationship that happened 35 years ago. So I'm really hoping that they see us as caring adults that really want to impact their lives.
What drew you to education?
Say that again?
What drew you to education?
Good question. So it was always kind of my backup plan. I came from a family of educators. My mom was an elementary educator. She specialized in reading readiness, which back in the day was helping kids that struggled when they were in kindergarten at reading. And then my father was a speech and language pathologist, both of them with Fort Wayne Community Schools. And I was drawn to education, even though both my parents said, don't go into education. So I actually entered Purdue's biology department, hoping to pursue pre-veterinary medicine. I didn't get in the first time, and maybe I was just a little impatient. And so the other thing that I had always thought about doing was teaching. And so I shifted midstream and took some education courses and found out that I really, really enjoyed that it was really, I enjoyed that as much, if not more, than my experience in a veterinary clinic. So I switched at that time and graduated with a degree from the School of Biology, but also with my teaching license to teach biology and chemistry.
So now you are on the administrative side, but you spent many years in the classroom. Can you talk to me about those years?
Yeah, those were probably my favorite years of education. I think any administrator that's really a good administrator will tell you that their favorite time in their career was probably when they were teaching. So I predominantly taught 8th grade science at Blackhawk Middle School. So that was really a passion. My room was full of reptiles and animals and plants and exploding chemicals that sometimes cause damage to the room, but not to anybody. And I also ran our school's jazz band program. So those were really fond years. I did that for 12 years before I did my first administrative internship at Baier Middle School.
So you were neighbors to our Georgetown branch at Blackhawk Middle.
I was, and we've had partnerships. I've actually partnered with the Georgetown Library in my role as a community partner liaison. So we have worked on some various projects that happen at Georgetown Library, and it's extremely convenient if you go to Blackhawk Middle School. It's right down the street.
Yeah. So I always like to ask my guests about their very first job. I've gotten some really interesting answers. What was your first job? And are there any lessons you learned there that still apply to this day?
Sure. My very first job. So my mother, even though I told you she was a teacher, she was only a teacher for 5 or 6 years, and then she opened a dance studio, which is still up and running under somebody else's leadership. But my mother just retired from teaching at that dance studio after 57 years at the age of 85.
Wow.
But when she owned the dance studio, my job was the custodian. So I came in on Sundays at 1 o'clock, and my job was supposed to be from about 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. I buffed floors and cleaned mirrors and did all the things that you normally would associate with a custodian, although running a buffer is not an easy adventure, but once you master it, it's pretty cool. So I think what I learned in that job, my dad was kind of a perfectionist and former military before he became a teacher, and so I know early on I probably didn't clean the dance studio to his liking. And so one of the lessons that he always left me with is do things right the first time so you don't have to go back and do it a second time. So I definitely have carried that with me all the way through education because, you know, time is precious and
time is money.
I'm a big believer in time in versus time out. So I'd rather put time in at the start of something rather than trying to fix it on the backside.
It's a very good life lesson.
It is.
So our final question on Open Book is a segment we call the Tail End with Toonces, and I will explain.
Okay.
Toonces is my very opinionated gray cat, and he couldn't come to the studio today, but he had a question he would like to ask you.
All right.
We love school supplies in our house.
Who doesn't?
Right. It's universal. Every year, every fall, I haven't been back to school in many years, but I have to buy new school supplies.
Yes.
So we wanted to ask you, what is your favorite school supply?
Oh, without question, sticky notes.
Sticky notes,
I
okay.
cannot make it through a day without sticky notes. They're great for sticking on your computer, on your monitor, on your desk, and it gives me great gratification that when I've completed what's on the sticky note that I can crumple it up and put it in the trash and then get on to the other 20 sticky notes that are still laying around my office.
So a follow, if I may.
Yes.
A particular color, size?
Well, purple is my favorite.
Okay.
So anything that's purple would obviously find its way into my desk. I like the new bigger sticky notes, not just the little square ones, but the ones that have lines, because I
was going to say that.
See, there you go, because I tend to write downhill, and so large sticky notes with lines are my favorite.
I like a sticky note, but as a child of the 70s and 80s, I love a Trapper Keeper. I assume you can still buy them. I don't know if you can.
Still buy Trapper Keepers,
Okay.
yes. But the need for them is less with everything being electronic.
Don't tell me
Plus,
that.
the very big Trapper Keepers tend to sometimes set off our weapon detectors. So
I'm not saying they're very practical anymore, but for nostalgic
I hate to say
sake,
that we're
yeah.
discouraging students from carrying your favorite childhood memory, but that might be the case.
Keep it in your bedroom at home to look
Yes,
at.
or
yeah.
just leave it at school. all the
Right,
time.
right. Well, thank you, Matt. From one fellow sticky note lover to another, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
And thank you for all you do for the students of Fort Wayne Community Schools.
Absolutely. It's a blessing to be able to do so.
And thank you for watching Open Book with Susan Baier. Until next time, keep turning those pages.